Welcome to Soccer Talk, a podcast about soccer, mostly in Iowa, presented by Kick It Forward. Kick It Forward is a positive disruptor to the Iowa soccer community.
Thanks to our sponsors, Scott Insurance Services and Michael Keener, Attorney at Law. You need legal help, you need insurance help, those are the two to contact.
That's right. Welcome to the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. Welcome to Soccer Talk. I'm Ben Brackett, here with my good buddy and co-host, Blake Sievers. Siebes, what's up, man?
Hey Ben, good to be in the studio with you, and excited for our little newest pod drop.
Yeah, we're sticking with our once a week on Fridays, dropping them while they're hot. And we had a little bonus episode this last week, a little game of the week. We got a studio audience today, don't we, Siebes?
We do again.
We do.
It's kind of been the norm our last few pods.
I know this guest today seems to be like he's having a little trouble sitting still in his seat, but otherwise he's doing well.
Yeah, and we had some kind of going a little different route. We had some people slide into our DMs for some questions for this podcast guest too. So kind of change things up, but keeping them the same at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. Well, so this last week we talked to Mark Motorson, so we were feeling feeling in the mode. So we
boom, look at that.
Oh, I love it. Then we hit up older brother Seth Modersohn for a chat as well. I think we will probably mention it along the way, but Blake and I played for Seth when we were both like 14 years old, 14 and 15, I think, for Seth. So he was just kind of at the height of his Menace career at the time, and maybe just finished up playing at Drake. And so it's fun to reminisce about some of that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, it was. It was good. We had talked to Seth via text. If you're kind of played tag a little bit, and the competitive spirit comes out because as soon as we told him that his brother was going to be on before he was, all of a sudden his responses were within seconds, weren't they, Ben?
It's true. That's if there's one thing that I would say Seth tried to instill in us when we were that age was to be competitive, like at all times, right?
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, why don't we just hop into the interview, Siebes?
All right. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Welcome, Seth Modersohn, to the pod. Seth, what's up, man?
Thank you. What's up? How are you guys doing?
We're great. I assume you did your research like your brother for this podcast.
Yeah, tons.
So you've listened to some episodes?
Mm-hmm. All of them.
Yeah.
Whoa,
How many are there? How many are there?
There's like, I don't know, like 60, 100, 60,
close.
70.
Yeah, okay. Well, so you know what Blake's first question is then?
I don't. I never know what Blake's first question is. Probably something slick.
All right, go on.
All right. So is this the first podcast you've ever been on, Seth?
Is it? Yes.
Oh, okay. We like the newbies. Are you nervous?
I listen to some podcasts, but
What
no,
are
I'm
your
not
pods?
nervous.
What are your pods? What do you like?
I like Tim Ferriss.
Sure.
I like James Altucher. I like
I don't know him.
How
So
I
he's all
Built This.
motivational?
Kinda. How I Built This, NPR is pretty dope on businesses.
Yeah, I know that one. That one's cool.
Joe
Any
Rogan.
soccer pods?
I listen to MMA. No, all MMA. MMA and self-help.
So, Steve, just put a bookmark really quick in the back of your mind that we're going to need to stop back for that, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some good stories there, I think.
Okay.
Cool. So we like to usually start out with just, I guess, first of all, this is a part of our Iowa Soccer Legends podcast. So we just like to chat with guys that have, guys and gals that have been through the Iowa soccer system, part of the Iowa soccer community, and chat with them about their careers. And in some situations, it's talking about how you maybe played professionally and what are you going to do next. And in some other situations, when you're maybe a little older, it's like how have you how's soccer been a part of your journey and where you're at now. So I don't know. I think you might fall into that second category.
What, the older guy one?
Maybe, I think. But I guess I fall into that category too at this point. So,
which means I really do.
Yeah, that's correct. So like maybe just give us the Seth Modersohn origin story. Like talk about growing up as a soccer player in Des Moines and how ultimately how it's gotten you where you've gone. We'll probably stop you before you get to that point, but.
Okay. I remember being asked by my mom when I think I was 6 years old if I wanted to play on a friend of mine who lived down my street, if I wanted to play on his soccer team, because they needed one more player to be able to enter a team in this league. And I had no clue what soccer was or anything. And
so were you like 4 or 5 at this point?
No, I was 6. I think I was
6.
6.
He just said 6.
Yeah.
I missed that.
But I don't know why, but I said yes. And I think our team was called the Kicks. And my buddy's dad his name was Jay Wangren. So shout out to Jay for being the guy who kicked off this pretty cool soccer journey for me. But he was the owner of it was called Dick's Pharmacy over by Drake. And I don't really remember much other than I would wake up on Saturdays and watch cartoons and then walk up to, it was called Perkins Elementary School. That was probably about a quarter of a mile or so from my house, and would walk up and we'd practice on Saturdays and then have games on Sundays. So that was pretty much it for the first couple years. I remember the first tournament I won was down it's called Aliber now, but at the time it was called Plantation. And it was drive-in movie theater in the back. And I don't know if you guys remember. You guys don't remember back then, but you've probably heard stories, right, about it down there? No?
I didn't know it was called Plantation.
Yeah. And
so it's funny. It's funny. Mark mentioned that he was like that. He remembers like when it got turned into being Albert.
Yes.
Like that was the comment he made, but he didn't mention. So you're just that much older.
Yeah. But it was only 3 years older than him. But I think there was bluegills. I don't know if you guys remember bluegills, but it was like
Oh yeah,
and all that. I don't remember. It may have been called something different before that. But yeah, a bunch of the parents got involved, and I know my buddy Zach Voss, who's the same age as me, he was on a rival team, I think, at the time. But his dad was influential, Carl, with getting those fields all going, and my mom helped out, and I think Ramona Barber was helpful in that, and some of the other parents to transition that. And then I think there was a couple other teams where just soccer dads would put together a team to maybe enter in a tournament or something like that. My first tournament was the McDonald's tournament down there.
They had a McDonald's tournament?
Yeah, it was called the McDonald's tournament. I still have, that's one of the trophies I kept. And so I actually have pictures of my dad at that tournament of, because he got kicked out. I think he was out on the field taking pictures and probably also yelling at referees. But he got kicked out, and there's a photo of him jumping off of a car in the parking lot where he had to go. And when I scored a goal, so it's pretty cool that I actually have, and photos I think from the game from way back that far.
Well, it seems like overall you've done a really good job of like sort of, like, I don't know, documenting all the, like, you love to like keep track.
Yeah. Well,
I mean that's the best way.
Yeah, you're right. I have like some deep archives because
Yeah.
it means a lot to me. And soccer is still a big part of my life, but also having a dad as a photographer, and my mom was like super organized with everything. So, there was always photos and albums and all that stuff. So they made it a lot
Super
easier
cool.
for me. Yeah. But I don't know how detailed you want me to get, but I think I went from that to like Iowa United came around and Kennedy moved into town and JR moved into town, and they were, influential with kind of showing me a whole nother level to soccer beyond
So
some of
those
these
are
tournaments we
were
would
those
go
your
to.
first two coaches?
Yeah, the
like
first
pro, like serious coaches.
Yeah, I think I was on a team one time with Aziz, like a club team. I think it was before he was at Valley. Yeah, I think he was my coach back in the day. Trying to think if there was another. There was a guy named Kim Yap, who I don't know if I would call him a pro, but it was kind of transitioning from just soccer dads who'd read a couple books and wanted to be involved, for their kids in the community, to coaches who had actually played the game. And then when JR and Kennedy came in, they were actual coaches who'd played the game at a higher level. So
Did you ever
that
play
was
for
cool.
Blair Reed at that age, like in your younger ages?
I did my first year, maybe 2 or 3 with the Menace. I was still in high school. Yeah.
But not as like a youth player.
No, not as a youth player.
Gotcha.
Not with Blair.
How old were you, Seth? How old were you when JR and Matt came into town?
I think I was like 14, and my age group, 14 or 15, my age group, the team was full. It didn't have any more room, so I had to play up an age group with JR's team, and it was a really good team. And I remember like those were some like tough years because I was being introduced to a higher level of soccer, and I was a little bit used to being able to do what I wanted out there because I was not because I was the best player or anything, but I was always pretty big and athletic and worked pretty hard. So that helped me until I got to that stage where, we would go to these tournaments and get whooped or we'd win state cup and go to regionals and get killed by Missouri or Minnesota or, whoever else, Illinois. But yeah, so they introduced me to like what it took to play at another level. And anytime you're getting pushed and challenged like that, it's tough. But
who were some of the guys you played? We like to do this a little bit. Who are some of the guys you played club with? Maybe before high school. You have a cool high school story we should get into. Go ahead.
So like my core group of guys like around that time was like Matt Krambeck, Ryan Monsma was a year below us, but he played with us all growing up. Like Jeff Thorne, Jerome Bobo, Matt Bobo's older brother.
So these are
like
some
Dustin.
Throwback names right now.
Yeah, and some of them, didn't. Colby Hinchliff was another one. Brad Proctor. Those guys were guys that. And then above us was a really good class too. Was like Adam Johnson, Miller Lewis, Chad Crandall, Josh Crandall was a year below us. Cody
So
Fox.
Do you guys like compete? Okay, it's like so to me the names that I'm hearing right now are all like for the most part they're like Roosevelt names. Like, they're Des Moines guys, right? It's like it's like was there like was there a West Wind club team back then? Was there
and I played
like
on that. Yeah, on that team I was telling you about that Aziz coached. There was Brad Stiles was on that team.
Sure.
Yeah,
so he's like the Iowa City West coach now.
Yeah, Jason
Legend.
Morton,
He's a legend over
Zach McDowell, Rich Hook. I don't know if any of these names. They're Valley guys.
Well, that's why I'm just name checking right now. But so these are the guys that used to beat up on, basically.
Well, I wouldn't say beat up. That was like our biggest competition. Valley was.
So how many clubs were there that were decent, Seth? So there was you guys at Iowa United, West Des Moines had a team.
That was pretty much it. You would play some other clubs weren't like, I don't think they were like proper clubs, training multiple times a week with proper coaches.
Are you at 76?
More like rec. 76,
70.
yeah.
Okay.
76. But yeah, and then high school, I remember playing JV when I was in 8th grade, And then JV, I played my freshman year. And then as a sophomore, I played a little bit of varsity. And then, junior and senior was varsity.
And you guys were quite the team.
Yeah, we were fortunate because we had good players. We had a good core, our team, but we also had good players below us and good players above us. So it worked out that we kind of fit in the middle of some of these good players. And our team, I remember we would train during our Roosevelt season like 3 times a day with Kennedy, and then we'd go to our Roosevelt practice. And our coach, Dan McCain, was like the strongest man in the world, drug-free a couple years in a row. Didn't know much about soccer, but he knew about getting a team together, and he knew about trusting like whatever Kennedy was doing with us during the days, and that we would be too tired to even try to do anything with him. So we would a lot of times just go into the pool and swim, or he'd tell us to run a few laps around the field, and after our first lap around the corner flags, he'd cut it to why don't you just go around the goalposts, because I kind of feel sorry for you guys. But yeah, he was awesome for us, like for what high school was then, and he wasn't trying to teach us too much or anything different than what we were learning in club. But our whole team was pretty much out united. So when we played Valley, it was West Des Moines club. But
so you guys, what's the story about being like undefeated, something like that for a long time?
That's the story. We didn't lose a game all through high school. I think we tied 3 times. Huh?
I said that's not. I mean, don't you think, Ben? I mean, Seth, you've been out of Iowa high school for quite a while.
Yeah,
but Ben, don't you think
that's
that's unheard of nowadays?
Well,
yeah.
I still remember in my 4 years, like, I don't know, it was single digits the amount of games that I lost. And then when I remember hearing about like the Valley team after like losing 5 games on a season, I was like, come on.
Yeah, it was a big deal to us at the time. I remember our senior year when my brother was a freshman, there was a lot of pressure on us. And at the time, like the newspapers were a big deal, and, they would cover your games and you'd see your name in like the little box. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's take a little tangent there. And obviously your dad, well, not obviously to all our listeners, but Seth's father was a register photographer, Des Moines register photographer for years, and is he's probably like an award-winning photographer, really, right? I mean, on some level.
I think he doesn't talk about it much, but yeah, he used to do awesome. His thing back in the day.
Yeah, he's super cool. But so like as a result of that, though, I guess where I was going with this was just like you track all this. I don't know. I totally lost my train of thought, Seth. This is awful. I remember. So talking about, I got talking about Bob. I got excited about Bob.
Well, just to kind of roll with that, like my dad worked at the Des Moines Register, and
here's where I was going.
Go for it.
We like you used to get like be on the front page of the Register. Like you used to get quoted. Like that was something that happened to us all the time. And now the Register does not even follow soccer at all. That was where I was going.
Really? Wow.
Like at all. Like are there even box score seats?
Why? No, but why don't they?
I don't think that's kind of why we started our little game of the week review and podcast and whatnot, because they don't, because I'm assuming just the newspaper market right now is struggling. I don't know, but it's been that way for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. It's been that way for a while.
I have like a whole box full of clippings that are just like stupid. I mean, they're not like, it's not like a big deal. They're just like little blurbs that say like Valley won 7-0 against Fort Dodge, and it's like, cut it out, sweet. But like that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. I think you could even, if you wanted to, I think my dad does it. You can go back and search like an exact date, and you can get like a digital copy of the, whatever photo it was, whatever article it was. He sent some stuff to me every once in a while, but it would be my dad's colleagues that would cover a lot of our games, and I got to know them. And sometimes you'd think it was, people would like poke at it being favoritism with me being in the newspaper because of my dad or whatever. But I don't know. That was at that time, like our group of guys, we were so close. I'm sure it was the same with you guys, but like you're so close off the field. You do everything together. You're at school together all day. And it's just all about the journey. It was less about, our senior year, like I said, there's a little bit of pressure because we had been undefeated up to that point. But beyond that, it was just all about your bros and spending time with your buddies. And I get taken back to a lot of those times quite often. Sneaking onto our soccer field, when it's raining and sliding all around and banging it against the wall for hours.
Yeah, it's those are the good old days, weren't they? Just
Yeah.
Soccer's all you had to worry about. So how did you end up? I know how you ended up at Drake, but maybe just like tell the story of how you left Des Moines and went away, and then kind of came back, and you had a good career at Drake, and kind of how it all rolled together.
I remember, like, I wasn't super heavily recruited, and we didn't do some of the big tournaments that get eyes on you, but I did Olympic development when I was like 11, and then I didn't do it again until Kennedy made me do it when I was like 17 or whatever. And I did pretty well there. And I got some looks from people, and then we went to, I think it was called the Capital Cup out in DC. And I had it narrowed down to Western Kentucky and West Point, which I can't even imagine how my life would be right now if that was the path I took. And then Miami of Ohio, Miami University. But I was almost like, I was thinking about trying to play basketball at some point. So my dad was just such a basketball fan. He didn't know much about soccer, but I think he learned to like it. And when both of your sons and my mom was so involved with it, I think that, he eventually fell in love with it too. But anyway, I ended up choosing Miami, and my senior year of high school, my mom found out she had breast cancer. So it was like, it wasn't really a question. She wanted us to continue our lives, and, soccer was a big part of it. So she wanted, us to keep doing that. So it wasn't really a question of should I still go out there or not. But I went out there, and I was on, it was a really good team. I think 4 or 5 of the other freshmen on my team had just won nationals with, like, is it Ohio Dynamo or something? I don't know the club team out there, but so I was already like up against other freshmen that had played like a whole nother level than me. And then you have all the upperclassmen, and then you're going from high school to college which is a whole nother level. So, and then you're away from home and all your homies. And so it was a tough time for me to just be away from home in general. But then with, knowing that your mom is going through some stuff made it even harder. And I almost transferred at semester, and my parents talked me into sticking around. I didn't get a ton of playing time to the point where I probably shouldn't have played and just redshirted and saved it for later. But I had played in enough that put me past the point where I lost like that year of eligibility. And then we had a good year. We won the conference, and so I got my ring, even though I didn't feel like I super earned it, but that was a cool thing. And then I did my second semester, and spring was a lot more laid back, and I was more familiar with my teammates and stuff, and it ended up like an awesome experience out there. But I was gonna actually stop playing soccer after my freshman year, and just be closer to home, and maybe go to Iowa or Iowa State, like where my friends were going and partying, and that kind of lifestyle was so tempting, and maybe just play club soccer at one of those.
Is that literally why you were going to stop, or was it more like related to your family situation? And
it was probably a little bit of both. Like, I don't remember my exact emotions. I know that
I just
even
can't
up until
see you being like, yeah, I'm just going to be done.
I don't know. Like, I think that I was pretty close to it.
You
but
still
then
play now, and how old are you?
No, I know. Yeah, I'm 44 now. But I mean, I remember going back to Aliber, like even if in that summer, and playing against, the younger guys and just feeling like so much more confident after playing at a higher level, even though I'm not really playing games, but like, just training with players that are better than you always pushes you. And I started to realize like how, I had played this sport for so long and should probably keep playing it. And what actually at that time kept playing it, along with stuff that you're probably talking about, just with my love for the game that's obviously there. My mom made me go. I got a letter, like a printed out letter that I still have from the Menace that was like, invited me to come try out. It was probably a letter that they sent to like everybody, and they asked me to come to tryouts, and tryouts were out in Johnston back when I think they only had fields on like one side of the street. I don't know if they have, I think it grew even before I left. Yeah. I think it grew to, I think it was only like 3 fields, but it grew to the other side and maybe beyond. But the tryouts were there, and I remember like playing really, really well, but I scored like the most amazing goal I had ever scored. And I still remember exactly what it was. Aaron Leventhal served a ball to me, and I like took it off my chest, like off to the other side of my body, and hit a volley that just like kind of spun into the far corner. And that just made me feel really good. And then what made me feel better was talking to him afterwards. And at that time, I had played against him when I was at Roosevelt, and I was a sophomore and he was a senior at Urbandale. And I remember,
He was like the man.
He was the man.
Like the man.
He was. And I remember just trying to like, just the upperclassmen saying, just like, stick with him, just don't let him do anything. And like, I just remember chasing him around the field, like not knowing what, like even if I got the ball, I was like, let me just get rid of it. Can you cuss on here? I almost just cussed.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you want to.
Okay, so,
okay.
Yeah. So I could just almost like, I was just like, oh no, I gotta get rid of this thing before something happens. But so I had looked up to him and read about him in the paper. And I think my mom was friends with his parents, but we had never really interacted other than, I think we were at Vogelsinger Soccer Academy one year at the same time, but didn't really talk. But anyway, I knew him. He probably didn't know me, but he did come up to me afterwards, and he was just like super complimentary and asking about, where I was playing and stuff. And he was like, yo, you should come to Drake. And I was like, really? And it was just so cool for him to say that. And then I want to think like that was on spring break that I tried out. And then I think before I even went back to school, I was meeting with Bob Wood, who was the Drake coach at the time, in my living room with my parents, who coincidentally both went to Drake themselves. And I don't remember if I had like even committed to transfer at that point or how that all worked out. But that's the quick version of how I ended up switching from Miami to go to Drake. And that summer I did come back and I played with the Menace. Well, I played on the Menace. I don't think I played in many games, but
I know all about that.
Yeah. But another situation that like, looking back on it was so good for me to be around all those older players. And like, I was, 18 and you had guys out there that were, in their 30s and guys who had played at another level. And some of those, I think just kind of my naiveness and my like unintentional humility, like kind of helped some of those older guys like reach out to me and kind of take me under their wing. I just,
who are some of those guys, Seth?
Yeah. Let's hit them up.
Like Brian Zwaska was one of the dudes that was just super like, I remember getting done with training sessions when I would get the ball and I would be so nervous and I would just want to get rid of it. And it wasn't like I was just playing like simple soccer and playing the way that, I should have been. It was just all nerves. And I remember him just saying, a couple times that I was the man of the match and you just played so simple and so clean. And I was like, yeah, that was
I just didn't want to make a mistake. That
didn't have to do with nerves. That was just, yeah, man, I'm figuring this out. But yeah, him and like Al Driscoll was there. Man, I'm trying to think of some of the OG dudes. If you said some of them, I'd probably remember. But those were
but you were playing too. Like, wasn't that like there was like a couple of those really good Bosnian players. There was like Faroud and Bessam.
But that was
like
later.
Bessam that was on. Okay. Yeah. So it was like early. Yeah, Fa was like.
And Bessam and yeah. Yeah, this was way earlier. This was still our home field was. I think
Was it Big Rain?
I think it was the first year there because the first year was at Dowling, and I only went to some of the practices because I was still in high school. That was when like Easy and Kevin Graving and like all those dudes played. My next first year, it was the first year at McGrain. But yeah, Levy obviously was. Have you guys ever had him on here?
Casey, man. We have.
Yes,
we've talked about him.
Yeah, Casey, I think was the first year too.
Vinny, I'm gonna write Levy down in the notebook right now.
Yeah, he's the man.
That's a good one.
So for those that he's just for those people that have no clue who he is, because I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners that really, I mean, honestly, don't know. Is he now the Minnesota United like strength and conditioning guy?
Yep. And he has his own gym. He does, private training and stuff. He's trained a lot of the professional athletes up in Minnesota and is just one of the best people I know. And his wife is amazing, and they have 4 kids up there.
His whole family's awesome.
Yeah,
like
the best. Yeah, and his mom and dad and
his sister was my Spanish teacher.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I think his mom was a Spanish teacher at Drake too, Gloria, back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, just such good people. But he was, like we talked about earlier, just an amazing soccer player, and then he had a good career at Drake, and then he went on, and I'm just getting like triggered by so many memories back in the day of like training for the 3 mile and under 18 test with him, and memories in the soccer house and all that stuff. But yeah, he went up and played with the Minnesota Thunder back in the day when they had like Tony Sana and Manny and Gerard and, some of these players that were MLS caliber players, and they were A-League at the time, but they were beating some of the MLS teams. And I think he at least won 1 national championship up there. And I think he played 8 seasons.
I remember when you went up there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was like for just a few weeks, like maybe like after a Menace season sometime, but it was when you were coaching us, and like you came back and you just had like so much knowledge to drop on us.
It was a big deal. We used to play against.
It was
their
like
theater
little
team.
Stuff though. You were just like giving us all sorts of good little stuff.
Yeah, that's all from Levy, man. That dude used to just encourage me and motivate me and challenge me and inspire me. Like he was, and his coach was an awesome guy too, Buzz Lagos, who ended up being, he would come down and help the Tornado, who I used to play against with the Menace. So he had watched me play a ton. And then when I was on the All-Star team and went to Umbro Select down in Fort Lauderdale, he was my coach. So it was pretty cool to be able to spend some time down there with him as my actual coach, even though I was invited to go up there and, try to make the Thunder and all that, and had conversations with Levy about doing it. But at that time it was challenging for me, just dealing with what I was dealing with my mom and how supportive like the soccer community was, like, from players I played with to their parents to fans to players I coached, like you guys, all of those things were really important to me. And I think more important for me to even try out playing like at another level in another area.
Well, Mark mentioned just like what he was like 19 when your mom passed, so you must have been just a little bit older than that. And
the day before I turned 23.
Good Lord. Yeah, I said to him, like, my dad's father passed away when he was like 19. I just can't wrap my head around it. And that must have been such a life-changing thing. And like, obviously everybody has tough stuff they do, but like, she was such an important part of your life. Like that, I think that honestly might've been my first funeral I ever went to, Seth.
Really?
Your mom's funeral. I think so.
Wow. I remember all you guys being there, the whole team.
Yeah. That must have been such a hard time.
Yeah, it was. But the thing is, like, I'm realizing now, having a family of my own, like how important, like, and how awesome my family was growing up. And also the soccer community, because it took my mind off of, my mom a lot. I probably had some overly lengthy pre and post game speeches with you guys having to do with, stuff I was dealing with my mom. But yeah, that, soccer kind of kept me together, and it was like my therapy. It was my escape. It was it was, you know, it was my focus. So, and that's what my mom wanted me and my brother to, you know, to keep doing. So, it wasn't, I don't remember too many times where I was just like, oh my gosh, like this, you know, my life just sucks and this and that. Like I didn't go that route. Luckily, I just went and like, just kind of like just threw myself into soccer, like full on. It was everything. And my situation with the Menace at that time was perfect because I was able to play. I was able to, you know, train in the off seasons and coach and work, you know, in the schools, mostly in like the inner city schools that I grew up in, and work with underprivileged kids. And all of that was so meaningful and rewarding. And so soccer just at that time was providing like so many opportunities and like awesomeness in my life. So
soccer's the best.
But ultimately, like that's, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Seth.
No, I was just gonna say, like, soccer was in some ways, you know, like I said, you know, my therapy and my escape and all that, but it also kind of prevented me from dealing with some like deeper things that were going on with losing someone that is like your everything. You know, I was a huge mama's boy, and my dad was, you know, kind of the tough love dad growing up. You know, we knew that love was there, but it was, you know, he was tough too, and we needed that. But you know, when that person is gone, that is that everything for you, it's like there's something going on deeper, even though it may not be on the surface and all that. But ultimately, like when I decided to move from Des Moines to Los Angeles, that was a part of it. I knew I needed to dig into some of these things and you know, spend some time with nature or God or, you know, the universe or whatever you want to call it. I knew I needed to work on myself and really like address some of this stuff. So that's part of what led me out to LA.
So what year was that?
That was in 2004, January 15th.
So I remember that because like I had gone away to school, and then like I kind of came back and you were gone. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's gone. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's like, Seth's going crazy. What's up? Or no, he got an injury and he's not going to play anymore.
Well, it was very much like you just sort of said, like, I'm out. I'm going to go try something
pretty
new.
much. What
were you doing down in LA? Like, what did you start doing? I remember it was like some crazy, like you were in like the ground floor.
Well, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that quick of a decision. It was because Iowa was Des Moines was my comfort zone, you know, like I was playing soccer. I was making, you know, good money. I owned my own place. I was like, I was doing well. I had a lot of, you know, really good friends around. My family was all there at the time. But then once that switch was made, then it was pretty easy. And the focus like was on, I'm going to make this work. I'm not just going to go out to LA and, you know, just party and then move right back. But yeah, when I got out there, my one friend in LA, his name's Ryan Ford. He was the editor of The Source, which is a hip hop magazine. And I don't know if he was the editor at the time, but he was working his way up, and he just offered me his
Roosevelt guy, right?
Yep. Roosevelt guy. His dad's Wayne Ford, who's a politician in town, started Urban Dreams and has done a ton in the inner city community in Des Moines. But his nickname is Fat Rat. And so Fat Rat, you know, looked out for me when I got out here, and I'd never had a real job, never really had an interview or anything like that. So he helped me make a fake resume, and we put it on Craigslist, and a company, I guess the cliff notes of it is a company that was like a new premium denim company hit me up, and I went in and interviewed for that job. And I remember we went back and forth a little bit, and my negotiation skills sucked really bad. So I think I talked them from like $8 an hour to $9 an hour, which was significantly less than what I was making in Iowa.
That's strong though. You negotiated up, what's that, 12.5%? That's pretty good.
That's true. That's true if you look at it like that. But then, then what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I used my. Yeah, so I just.
I think
Go ahead.
Keep going.
No,
We're just. I think
We're just what?
we're missing like a big. We're missing a big chunk here. I think.
I know. I want to.
'Cause, like-
I know. I want to go back. I want to know
go
about.
back. Oh yeah, yeah,
Like, I want to
yeah.
know about
Yeah,
how did you get into the clothing, the fashion?
And you were a big
I think it
entrepreneur.
really
We haven't even talked about me coaching you guys.
Wow, not to mention we didn't even talk about Toad Holler.
It's like Jordan and Pippen here. You know. Yeah, Toad Holler too. I'm sure your parents loved that introduction by me. And our road trip to
So
Nebraska.
Yeah, so I mean, so let's do a little full disclosure. So Seth was our coach when we were, I think
14,
started when we
15.
were like 14.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in UFC, I mean, Seth, you mentioned it earlier earlier in this chat about how you're big into UFC podcasts, but there was a place there on Army Push Road that was actual like no holds barred fighting before it was even.
Yep.
I mean, it was UFC was a thing, but how that was legal. So talk a little bit about this, like how you even. Because I don't even know how you even got involved. And we were going there when we were 16, 17, and
It
No.
was open.
that whole deal.
So Roosevelt had some tough dudes that went there, and a couple of them I was, hearing were going out to this place called Toad Holler and fighting, which I thought was pretty cool. I like watching fights, and so I went out there. I forget who I went with the first time, but I went out and you pay I think $10 on a Wednesday night, and the fighters, if you wanted to fight, you would sign up in one of three weight classes. You would either sign up in no holds barred, where you would wear like a 4-ounce glove. And that's what everybody wanted to watch. Or you would do barroom boxing, where you'd have like a 16-ounce, like giant boxing glove. And most people would just like throw haymakers and get tired after like 20 or 30 seconds. Or there was submission wrestling where, there was no contact. You would have to just try to get the other person to tap out. So my very first time out there, this dude that was like 225 pounds in the ring was like, it evolved from a ring to a cage over the years, but he was in the ring and he was just like, I'll fight anybody my weight in here. And this little 170-pound dude gets in with like some mesh, like lacrosse shorts and a hoodie. And he's like, I'll fight you. And they're like, no, you ain't fighting this dude. And so he got out and they both got out and they may have had like another fight or something. And then the guy got back in and was like, I'll fight anybody in here, like up to 250 pounds. And this dude got back in the ring and he was the little dude. And he was like, I want to fight you. And they're like, no, man, we'll find someone this guy's weight. Got out. And then dude got back in again and was like, I will fight anybody in here, any weight. And then this 170-pound dude gets in and was like, took his shirt off and, his sweatshirt off, and he wasn't ripped up or anything, but he was like, we're fighting. Like, I don't care. Give me the waiver. I'm signing it. We're fighting. So they ended up fighting, and this kid's name is Josh Neer, and he's, like a brother to me. And he, ended up whooping this dude's ass. And the other dude had his like whole posse in his corner. And it was just like shocking to see this dude, like, who's so unassuming, beat someone up who you wouldn't think would beat up. And this, Josh has a wrestling base and used that to his advantage. And it was his very first fight. I think he had just turned 18 recently, so it was legal for him. But anyway, like, there's so many other Toad Holler stories, but like, I think after 10 fights, he was 9-0. And I brought my,
that's not good math.
Huh?
If he's had 10 fights, he's got to be 10-0, not 9-0.
10. So, sorry. It was either 9 or 10. He was 9-0 or 10-0. You're right. I didn't go to Brown. I went to Drake. But but he had oops.
Lost him.
Am I back on? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was 9 or 10-0, and I brought all the Menace out there, and I was like, you gotta check this dude out. He's incredible. He's been like killing people, and not literally killing people, but he's been beating the crap out of people. And he finally fought a guy who knew how to kick. And Josh's stance was like a wrestling stance, and he wasn't protecting his face. And this guy, in like 10 seconds, kicked him in his face and put his nose like over by his ear. Josh climbed out of the ring, left. I think he went and had, some kind of surgery, and he was back like a month later. And all my friends were just like, oh man, what's this dude? And so Josh ended up winning like 40 40 fights or something like that, 39 or 40 fights. And he was like, had one, that was his only loss. And they ended up having, I think the dude's name was Kevin Burns, and they did a rematch and Josh ended up whooping him. And so along the way, I was, I had a clothing line, Tofuti, that I was like messing around with. And then Josh asked me if I would make his gear for him to fight in. And so then I started making his gear. And so that was also part of the inspiration for me to move to LA. I just was making like his fight shorts with a wedding seamstress I knew in town. And there was like one fabric store that I knew to where to get things. And then all of a sudden he started fighting in the UFC. And it was like, I really want to make stuff that's way better than what I'm making. And I'm not going to figure out how to do that in Des Moines. So I gotta move.
That's we had a question from a listener actually. They want to know like what like, you think I'm joking, but I'm dead serious. They want to know what happened to Tofu. Like
I mean, I stopped doing it, you know.
Dude, do you have Tofuti like sitting around in a couple boxes?
I have a can probably somewhere. I don't know if my
I
dad.
have a can. I have a can and a shirt and a red
I for
shirt,
sure have a can.
long-sleeve.
I don't have a shirt, but my dad probably threw everything away. But he still wears them, or he wears them. I don't know. But
Blake wears one of his Tofuti shirts when we play racquetball. When we used to play
That's
racquetball
awesome.
pre-COVID.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean,
supposed to wear it tonight. I forgot.
I guess it just stopped. It stopped when I moved to LA.
But it's interesting because like that type of like brand, or you know, like you're essentially like, I mean, it's basically a lifestyle brand essentially, right? Like you were supporting the fighting, like you were giving them the clothing to wear, and you were like saying, hey, if you wear this stuff, like you're cool, like team Tofuti.
But you're right. But it was like a whole like little community that was a part of it. But I don't know if you remember, another thing besides the t-shirts that I sold was those shoe care kits.
Yeah.
And I remember like a big thing for me growing up is my parents wouldn't buy me like the nice shoes because I would wear my cleats in the street and I wouldn't like untie them when I'd take them off. And I didn't take care of the,
you dickhead.
I'm getting kicked out of the park.
Really?
But,
why? For what?
I guess the park's closed now, but, I'll come over.
Just for the record, guys, it's like not even 8:00 in California, and they're kicking people out of parks.
7:30, yeah. I'll find a new
2
spot
hours.
for stuff. But
Wait for daylight savings. It'll be 1.
Oh, we're gonna lose him.
So yeah, my parents wouldn't buy me nice shoes, and I ended up I had my own kit with some mink oil and a brush, rag, like I just said, and I would just bring it with me to all my games. And then people started asking me about, I was like, oh shoot, maybe I can make more of these. So I found a place that I could buy like, I think 50 of the mink oils and the rags, 50 picks to get the mud out of your cleats. And I remember prior to that, I went to Freddie at soccer, and I had asked him if he would sell the t-shirts because the t-shirts happened before the shoe care kits. Because I was waiting for all the material, like let
Uh-oh.
Did I freeze up?
No,
Uh-oh.
you did. It's okay. I think that
Did I freeze up?
yeah, it's all right though. Why don't you go just find a place to stand still or sit still?
And then Seth, go back to when you were trying to
'Cause I
sell
wanna-
t-shirts to Fred.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. This is the good stuff. Like, you can't let us down now.
There you go.
Hey,
Yeah, so
Am I back?
go back to Freddie. Yeah, go back to Freddie, trying to get Freddie to sell t-shirts and Soccer Connections.
please.
Maybe.
Did I lose you guys?
Not yet. So, Steves, how was your day today? Did you do anything good?
I think so. I don't know if I went through a bad spot or what. You there?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
Seth,
said it
can
was
you go back?
you said it was Silicon
Freddie.
Vista. I'm assuming that the internet's
Yeah,
good
go-
there.
Hey, it's what is this 5G? But anyway, are we back?
Freddie in the t-shirt. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep going. Freddie.
So Freddie was like, I can't, you don't have any like branding behind this Tofuti thing. You don't have any marketing. Like no one knows what it is. Like the Nike and Adidas stuff that was in the store. Am I back or it looks like?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
So he wouldn't sell the t-shirts. And then so I was like, well, how about like, so I was like, all right, cool. And then once I got all the shoe care kit stuff in, then he ended up, I think he bought like 10 of them off of me on like consignment. And he's, put them in a store, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I think about
those shoe kit cares were sweet.
Yeah. And those shiny bags that I got. And
yeah,
it was pretty cool. And then I think it was a month later because all you guys were wearing them around and probably going in asking if they carried them and stuff. So he ended up hitting me up and saying, hey, about those shirts, like, people are asking about them and I'd like to buy some. So he bought them and sold them in the stores. And that was pretty cool for me, but I was very aware that like there was so much more to all of that I wanted to learn. And I just didn't have anybody in Iowa to teach me any of that stuff. So
you were a young entrepreneur and didn't know it.
I guess, even though I still look at myself like that's not in my nature, to be an entrepreneur. But
I sort of feel like I learned a little bit of that entrepreneurial thing from you. I don't know, but
really, maybe yeah. I just
mean,
went for it. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any different. It was just because
I remember like putting signs up for you and like wearing the Menace head because you were just like, hey, I need some dummy to do this. Like, hey, good. Like,
right.
Oh, but I got like $10 or $20.
I remember that. Are we still? Am I still?
So talk about. You're all right. We can hear you, so you're good. That's all right.
There we go.
We don't really need to see you or want to see you.
Okay.
So you got to LA. Talk about LA because you had some pretty cool experiences with some big time celebrities, soccer guys. Kind of talk about the LA experience, I guess. And how old you were when you moved out there?
I was 27 when I moved out here, and I got that job. The company was called Rock and Republic. It was a premium denim company, like right at that craze. I don't know if you remember other brands like Diesel and Seven and True Religion and brands like that were, it was like probably $300, $400 price range for jeans. And we, the company that I was with, we had about 4 employees when I started, and then we very quickly grew. And we grew to over, like 250 people. But in the beginning, I was doing whatever. I just wanted to help. I just wanted to like be under an umbrella of like all of this fashion, like knowledge and experience, and just soak it all up. So I was driving around. That was back when like MapQuest was a thing, and going from Iowa to LA, it's a big difference with traffic and finding your way around all these factories. And so I remember like MapQuesting out my day and printing out sheets on like pickups and deliveries and things I would do. And some days I would sit at like a rivet machine, like if you have jeans, you have like rivets in like the corners of the pockets, I would just sit at like a manual kick press and just like punch rivets into jeans all day long, or I would cut, or I think I was even making patterns, which is crazy for me to even think that like, I mean, I don't do that now. I don't know how I was doing it back then, but and then I became the fit model there just because my size was the size that they wanted to fit all the jeans on. And in doing that, like I no, that's not, it's, and I hate it.
He made sure to put that in there, didn't he, man?
Yeah, I was the fit model.
It's not anything fancy at all, but what it did, and I actually didn't like it. I didn't like standing in there trying jeans on for like 10 hours a day. I wanted to be out like learning stuff and talking to people in factories and, learning how things are made and learning how things are done and all of that. But like I remember there's one of the designers there that kind of helped me see things a little bit differently. And he helped me see that, like, you may be standing there trying on jeans all day, you know, and just looking at all these people looking at you, but you're hanging out with salespeople. You're hanging out with, you know, that are commenting on jeans. You're hanging out with designers. You're with fabric people that are seeing how things fit and drape. And
well, they have to ask you too, like, how do you like the way that feels? Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have to provide input. So you have to understand, like, the vision for the product. Sometimes you have to understand, like, what they're going for with it. So it was an opportunity for me to just learn more from some of these, like, high level people that were coming and going from our business, because we had a pretty high turnover. And it was weird for me being from Iowa, because I would be so close with some of these people. And then I didn't fully understand, like, the business world, especially fashion, can be very fast. And, you know, people would be gone and I'd be wondering what's going on. But yeah, I did that for 7 years until we ended up selling the company. I think I forget what year that was, 2004, probably 2011 or 12. But at that time, when I moved to LA, I thought that soccer was like a past life. I was just like, never playing soccer again, never touching a ball again. Like, it's all fashion now. I just need to just, like, fully immerse myself in this industry and learn all that I can. So, you know, and then soccer came back around.
Yeah.
But,
So, like,
keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we can go and talk about all the Seth Mode stuff if you want, but, like, I'm super curious about how to me, the Seth Mode, Tofuti, like, Team Tap Out, like, all that stuff, though, like, ultimately gets you to, I mean, I know what you're doing now. You're doing some really, really cool stuff, which I want you to tell us about, but I know you have, like, all these really cool, like, other soccer related product ideas. Like, what do you have like going on in the lab right now? Like, what do you like? I know there's something.
Yeah, there is.
Can't tell us about it.
No, I mean, I just, like, I've been out here long enough now, and I've mostly worked in the production space in fashion. So I don't know if you want me to go into any details of that, but I basically just help.
Just rattle it off. Like, give us an idea what you do.
I just help people make clothes. That's it.
Okay, right. But so you've worked with, like, Nike,
yes.
Fear of God. What else? What's the other one?
Diesel.
Yeah. No. What's the one? The fancy, the five one.
Undefeated.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not that hip.
Yeah, but most of it has been.
How did I get that, Ben?
So
yeah, you're not that hip either, are you?
But Fear of God is in the luxury luxury space. So it's higher end stuff, and, you know, a lot of complex pieces, and it's not just like slapping logos on t-shirts and cranking them out. So it's cool to work with a company like that every little piece of all of our pieces are considered, you know, from the fabric to how it's constructed to how it's branded, and on down the list. So with other clients outside of Fear of God that I work with, I help them with anything from, you know, concept to creation. If they want me involved with the design process, I can be. Like, I've been a creative partner with Nike on projects, or they may just come to me and say, hey, we want this, we want you to make this, like, exactly, and give me a full tech pack and everything that they want me to go make. And I don't go make it, like, sitting at, you know, a machine myself, or cutting out the fabric or creating the patterns, but I have a team of people that I work with on, you know, depending on what the project is.
Like, do you sketch it or do you explain it?
Mostly explain it, but I mean, I can sketch too. You'd be surprised at how some of these big
I
projects,
definitely would be surprised.
No. Oh, at my sketches or what?
Yeah.
No, you would be, but I mean, like, some of these products that you see out there, whether it's a soccer shoe or it's a warm up or whatever, sometimes it started off on a napkin, at a bar with two people. Like, what you see is the end product, and that's not what it started out as. So, but anyway, what I was saying is, like, through being involved with production and fashion, I've made what I feel like I've made a lot of different things. And I feel like the soccer space is a little bit untapped with especially with equipment. But even gear, I don't know if right now is the time to do anything with a lifestyle brand, but I'm very surprised at some of the ideas that I've had since I was like 13 that they haven't been done yet. So
like what? Get into some details. If you can.
Like, have you
sounds
seen?
stupid, but I can't, because it's all stuff that I'm working on, and I'm either gonna
Working on. Okay.
I'm either gonna work on what
Have you seen State Soccer?
State Soccer. No, what is that?
State Soccer. It's like a soccer lifestyle brand that, like, some soccer guy, like Matt Beasler and somebody else, are doing.
No, I'll check them out though. I'll check them out. I'm just
curious.
No, more from like a branding perspective. Oops, are you still there? Yeah. More from a branding perspective, like with soccer equipment. How it's shoot, I don't want to say too much, but for example,
we literally have seven listeners on our podcast, so
okay,
no worries.
For example, like how many different soccer cones have you seen? Like, from the time we were all kids.
There's discs and there's triangles.
Yes, and how many different colors are there? Like 3? Orange and red and maybe a random blue or whatever. Like,
yeah.
There's like all of my cones from my stuff out here has to be like a specific color. It has to be
they're
branded,
like black and white. Yeah.
Black, white, and orange. Surprisingly Valley colors. But orange comes from, it's like the black and the white for me is, I'm colorblind. So that's where the black and white comes from. But the orange is like the pop color because, orange slices at halftime and all that from soccer. So that's where like my colors come from. I don't know if they do orange slices anymore, but
I hope so.
But I forget where I was going with all that. But yeah, I mean, that's just one example. Like, I feel like cones, there's so many different ways that, places to go with that.
Will you talk a little bit about, Ben, do you have anything else on that or not?
No, go ahead.
When I get a little bit further along, I'll definitely share some of this stuff with you guys.
Maybe we can break some news for our podcast with that.
Yes. Yes.
But then too, talk about kind of just the Hollywood lifestyle with soccer and how you got to meet who you got to meet, and through soccer, through the celebrities, through all that, because I think there's a couple of kind of cool stories in there.
Well, how I kind of got reintroduced to soccer, like I had a couple moments where, like, one of our factories, I remember one time one of our factories, this dude played in like a league in East LA, and I had told him I had played soccer, and he's like, "Oh, you got to come play on my team." So I went in like East LA and played on this field. That was one of the worst fields I've ever played on. It was like all dirt, and their whole like neighborhood was lining like the field, and they had food trucks out there, and it was just like the biggest deal. And I was like 2 years into being out in LA, and I brought like one pair of soccer shoes out here with me that were probably old, and I went and played, and I did pretty well and got a couple goals. And like, I remember the owner of the team coming, and like the first thing he did was give me money afterwards to go get nicer shoes, because like whatever shoes I had, I guess were
not appropriate.
Yeah, I don't know. But then when I was at Rockin' Republic, one of the guys came in to meet with our owner. He was a journalist, and our owner was notorious for having people wait for a very long time. And this journalist just sat in my office with me, and we just talked and got along well. And he we talked a little bit about soccer, and he was at a place out here called Chateau Marmont, which is a fancy like hotel restaurant that's hard to get into. He was there, and he was just kind of a sneaky dude, and he had timed it so that he went to the bathroom at the same time as Bono and Robbie Williams were there. And when he went into the bathroom, he went up to Robbie and told him, you know, I mean, I guess thinking about it now, it's even more inappropriate that it's like in a bathroom. But he had told him he knew he had a soccer field at his house, and he had a friend who played soccer. And Rob was like, well, have your friend come up to my house. Rob had a soccer field at his house up on Mulholland. And so my buddy hit me up, and he was like, yo, you're going to Robbie Williams' house to play soccer. And I was like, no, I'm not, I don't play soccer anymore. And he was like, no, dude, I want to see his house. You're going up there. And so he ended up picking me up, and I went up and played, and me and Rob got along. And there were some people that were kind of like, I didn't know who Rob was at the time. I didn't know like how big of a pop star or whatever you want to call him he was.
You never heard Bittersweet Symphony?
I didn't know if is that one of his songs. I had heard of Angels, and there was one
It's
called
a bittersweet symphony.
That's
that
him.
one?
I don't know. Well, I know Angels was his big one, but
That definitely did not sound like him, but go ahead.
Huh? What?
No, I said Ben singing did not sound like him.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, I believe you. But
Oh no, that's not the right song.
Angels, and wasn't a Rock DJ where he like peeled his skin off. But anyway, yeah, I played up at his house. We hit it off, and there was some people who knew how big he was that were just kind of hanging on to be around. And then there was some guys that I got to be really good friends with, that I'm still good friends with, that played. One of them played at Michigan State, actually with a guy, Brady Demling, that I played with the Menace. He had the sweetest mullet I've ever seen in my life. And his dad, I think, used to play with Lori Calloway back in the day. And he might be involved with Missouri, like state soccer. But anyway,
an old 9-finger Lori.
yeah. But yeah, I got to be good friends with some of these dudes, and we would go up to Rob's house and play, and then he had another house up on Mulholland too that we would go after we would play. We'd go over to his other house, and his chef would cook us up food, and it was just kind of like an entourage. And it brought me back to like how important soccer was in my life. And even though fashion was going well out here for my first couple of years, like I had really been missing that camaraderie, and really been missing like just that, just that adrenaline when you're out there playing, and the competition and all of that. So jumped right back into it. We were playing up there a lot, and he was entering us in tournaments. And then we went back to Des Moines and played against the Menace. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I do.
Yeah, so we went back there and played, and from that, like Ziggy and Rohan Marley used to play up there, and then they were also playing on another team that was undefeated in Santa Monica, and they asked me if I wanted to go play on that team with them. So I knew Undefeated was a sneaker store, but I didn't know like the owner, James Bond, was on the team, and I didn't know like some of the other guys that again are still friends of mine to this day. So I went out there and started playing, and we played in a bunch of the Addy Cups in LA and New York, and would travel around a little bit. And so and then from there, like people started going up to Rod Stewart's house. He basically built a field at his house that's similar to Robbie Williams. And then a lot of the players that were going up to Rob's house ended up going over to Rod's house. And so now we go up there and play. And yeah, there's all kinds of industry people that are up there.
So you're still doing that game? You're still playing that game?
Yeah. Not since all this COVID stuff. We switched, and now I have access to a really cool – that field is sport grass. Most fields I play on in LA are sport grass. But there's another field.
Is that like just turf? Is sport grass turf?
Yeah. Yeah, you still wear cleats on it, but it's, you know, it's not like real grass. Like
That's what they call it in Hollywood, Seavers. Sport
I
grass.
say that's the LA definition or vocabulary. Yeah.
that's what it's called. I don't know. It's fake grass,
In-
and it's
In London, they call it 3G.
well, when you guys get older and you realize the sport grass is harder on your body, you'll appreciate playing on some real grass.
I
But
only want to play on real grass.
But this other field we play on is the owner of the Detroit Pistons. They have a couple basketball courts like right in the middle of Beverly Hills, and they have a soccer field. It's probably like 7 or 8 aside that doesn't even get used. It's just sitting up there, and it's like a putting green. And I have a friend of a friend that connected me up there. So that's where we've been playing. I think it's just a little bit, it's more like open than Rod's house is like at his actual house. This is almost like a park in the middle of Beverly Hills. Then we just go and we just play pickup. We usually have like teams of 3, and you play games that are like 7 minutes, or whoever scores 2 goals, you know, then losers off, next team's on.
A battle
Keep it
royale,
simple.
winner stays
Keep it
on is the
simple.
best way to do it.
Yep. So that's pretty much it. Played in some different leagues out here, and that's enough for me right now. Like that's the fix, because it's a pretty high level. Even men's leagues out here are high level. You got dudes who come out here that are done playing at you know, some pretty good schools.
Are these like headband, like elbow pad guys?
No, what's that mean?
Like they're serious.
Soccer slam days.
Yeah. I just actually talked to a guy the other day that's doing an article on that.
On Soccer
and
Slam?
Yeah. Do they have them online? You can watch the games.
We know.
YouTube. There's like a YouTube
Oh, okay.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
it's
gonna link
crazy.
that with this episode. So,
But
I got 2 questions left here. I got what was the first? Real quick, make it because it's getting late. Can you give a brief, quick story about meeting Neymar and Beckham? I think those are 2 quick, cool stories that people will, if you tell it right, will appreciate.
well, I don't know about how quick they'll be.
And then I got
They'll
one
definitely be cool.
no, the quick of David Beckham is I used to work with his wife Victoria at we did a line with her at Rockin' Republic. So she was one of the people that I would try jeans on for, you know, all day, and her assistants would come in and they just have, you know, champagne and cheese and whatever, and we just hang out. And I got to know her through that, and you know, through that we talk about soccer, and like, you know, you got to meet David, and so he was in town.
She calls him David, not Bex. She's gonna say, "Oh, you got to meet Bex."
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly, probably, but David was in town when he was with Real, and playing against the LA Galaxy. So,
yeah.
I think it was Victoria or him who got us tickets to go. Me and the owner of Rockin' Republic. And the owner hit me up, I remember, like in the middle of the day, and he was like, yo, stop whatever you're doing, and I'm going to pick you up, and we're going to go we're going to go get tickets for the game. And I was like, all right, cool. So I didn't know I was going to go get them from him, but, you know, we drove over. He was staying in like the Ritz and in the marina, actually, which is right by where I live right now. And we just rolled up and went to the front desk and was like, yo, we're here to see David Beckham. And like, all right, well, you know, go right up. And we just went up the elevator, and he just opened the door.
He didn't even have a secret name? They weren't like, oh, you got to meet.
No secret name, no security, no nothing. He just had it wasn't even like a suite, just a regular room, and just walked in. And I remember he had his laptop out, and he was looking through pictures of like her and the kids, and him and our owner were talking about cars and watches and, you know, the fashion stuff. David liked how it kept her busy, you know, being involved with the fashion stuff. So he was, I don't think the money mattered to him, but just the fact that she was enjoying what she was doing and stuff. So, so that was pretty cool. And we just hung out, and and talked, and that was really it. And then he gave us tickets, and he was like, I don't know how good they're going to be, but here you go. And they ended up being like half line front row. So we went to the game, and I just remember seeing like Zidane play was just mind blowing. He's obviously playing against a much lower level, but just his speed of play was incredible.
He's magic.
I mean, they had a stacked team back then too, but yeah, I don't know if that's quick enough, but that's the Beckham one.
That's like Makalele, Zidane, like Raul,
Roberto Carlos,
or Bobby
right?
C. Yeah, Cannavaro, Casillas.
Wow, look at you! You know way more than I do.
I mean,
But
I just played video games back in the day.
but then yeah, the Neymar thing's quick too. Like Nike sponsors my soccer stuff out here. I have a pretty good relationship with them. Work with them on a lot of soccer projects that So like what I do with Nike is not like if I'm going to make a soccer jersey for them, like I've done World Cup jerseys for men's and women's. I don't work on the actual jersey that is being worn in like the game. I work on the stuff that is, Nike does so many events and so much, like they may do a tournament or something or some kind of event around the World Cup or around a product release, and they're all about storytelling and stuff like that. And they also are all about having high profile people, whether it's entertainment people or athletes or whatever, wearing their stuff. So they sponsor a lot of people who you may not know that they sponsor. At least, I mean, you would know it if I tell you, but because you'd think back and be like, oh yeah, Eminem does wear a lot of Nike. And oh yeah, Nike, when I watch Creed, like, oh, there was a lot of Nike in Creed. And when Michael B. Jordan was on the red carpet, he did have like a lot of Nike.
I was really afraid you were talking about Creed, the band. And I was like, dude, no.
That doesn't seem like the right fit.
No. So my buddy works for like an actual, like a company where like their job is to quantify that. So like they'll say that like, we represent Nike. Eminem was on the Grammys the other night, and he was rocking Nike. So like we got all this exposure that we didn't know, and that's a terrible example because I doubt that would happen.
That's how it works.
Grammys, but
that's how it works. Like Kendrick Lamar, when he's on stage, he's wearing like a Nike jumpsuit. Like Drake, I've done a bunch of stuff for him. Dave Chappelle, when he does his shows, he's a Nike guy. So,
I was gonna say, you design his cigarettes?
That's no. He is a big smoker.
Careful.
But so I have a good relationship with Nike, and I'm kind of like, in some ways it's like a contradiction because I don't know if that's the right word, but the space that I'm in soccer in Los Angeles is not really what Nike is all about. Nike's all about victory and champion and bigger, faster, stronger, better. And my soccer school in Los Angeles is just all about like the community and the love for the game. And, a lot of the stuff I do is play-based. And I just wanted to get away from, this is getting to the whole Neymar thing, but I wanted to get away from all of the like egos and the money and the power and all the stuff that is such a big part of soccer, especially club soccer. So what I do is like the opposite of that, is a lot of playing and a lot of fun and not a lot of X's and O's. And I think Nike likes that. They like that. There's people don't just drop their kids off at a clinic. They come and they have picnic blankets and baskets and sit around and socialize and watch their kids, and they're a part of the experience, and their kids love, running over to the parents and, running back out on the field. And so there's been some influential people that have been a part of the clinics that kind of touches on your point with what your friend does. People that have a lot of eyes on them and what they do. So when Neymar was coming to Los Angeles to do like a little mini tour and probably promote him and Nike and all of that, Nike reached out and asked if I would kind of curate 100 of the people from my clinics to have like one big, what we did is like the Seth Mode Select. And then he would show up, but they wouldn't, I was still nervous, like up until like the second I saw him, that he wasn't going to show up, and I was going to have all these kids and their parents out there and all excited. And so, it wasn't a ton of planning for it, but there was a little bit of back and forth with branding stuff with Seth Mode versus Nike and how that was going to work. But yeah, all of the families were super like supportive of the event, and everybody came out, and it was pretty cool. Like when he showed up, he has a big entourage that he travels with, and he doesn't speak much English, or he didn't at that time. It was a couple years ago, but maybe he's learning more now. But he just rolled up and said hi to him and introduced him to everybody and said a little bit about him. And
Did he hop in and play?
He hopped in and played with everybody. It was really cool.
Super
I
cool.
had probably, what we do back in Des Moines with like one group. Actually, we do 2 age groups now, but like with one group, I had probably 4 or 5 different age groups doing the same thing. And he jumped in and made sure that he played with every single group. And he was,
awesome.
he was there longer than, most of his other events in Los Angeles. So it was pretty cool.
Sweet. So here's my last one for you, Seth. Best, and this is coming from our DM, which you make fun of us about, but again, there's another question for you.
Okay.
Best soccer memory is?
Oh man.
Yeah, put you on the spot.
That's really tough. There's so many. What's crazy about that is like, I don't know if you guys are like this, but I don't remember many goals beyond like a couple weeks ago. Like many goals or like many specific moments about games. It's almost like just the overall like journey of it all. But maybe
because we didn't score many goals in our life, so that's easy for us.
Speak for yourself. Your boy,
come on now.
That dude was like LeBron out there, man.
Yeah, Ben
Boy.
dropped the old like, I scored 63 goals in high school the other day. We were dying laughing. Yeah, he remembers the exact number and number of assists and double assists.
Yeah, so this is good though. Seth and I are the same in that way.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't know, but I would have to say, like, if I had to say one, it was probably the last game my mom saw me playing, and it was the last game of the Menace. We played Cocoa Beach Expo, and I think it was like the regional final. And I think after that, no, it wasn't the regional, whatever the one is before the regional final. And she had just had a stem cell transplant and couldn't actually come into the stadium. So she sat in her minivan with, I think, her mom, my grandma, and they watched the game from the car because, after that surgery, you can't be exposed to, any germs or anything like that. So I think she sat in the car with a mask and watched the game. And I think I had a couple goals and an assist in that game, and we ended up coming from behind and beating them. So I don't remember like the goals exactly, but I do have a clipping from the paper from that exact game. So that's probably the most memorable one, but there's so many.
I was sure you were going to say that it was, what would that have been, 1999 U14 State
That's
Cup.
A good one too. That's a good one too.
After us, we had vanquished the West Des Moines Attack the week before in an absolute, just storybook. Like, no way we would have ever possibly beaten them. We beat them. Then we beat Quad Cities, and we have the final, and your dumbass breaks your ankle, or like you
That's right. Yeah.
You sprained your ankle, and you couldn't even show up to the game. And we were like, oh God, our secret weapon is Seth. Like, he's the reason we're here. And like, now you're not there. And we're like, oh my God, State Cup final. What do we do?
Little
Jade
did you guys
Monahan,
know.
Jade Monahan to the rescue.
Man, yeah, he scored?
He scored 2 goals. We won 2-0.
No,
He
didn't-
scored them both.
I thought Big Wilson scored one.
No, that was against the Attack. Big Willie was crushing it. Dude,
Okay.
side note, I saw Big Willie on the street recently, Seth.
Really?
Like,
Oh,
walked
man.
past him in my neighborhood, and he looked over at me, and he was like, Ben Brackett? And I was like, Big Willie?
What a good dude. See, that's one of the coolest things about that team is we had some guys on that team that were just like not on your guys' level, even close to it, but like the camaraderie of everybody and just like the positivity and how everyone lifted everybody. It was that was a special team for me. There's so many memories, like the Nebraska trip when we rented that van with Sheer and went there, and like remember when we did the slumber party out at my guest house or carriage house, whatever that thing
up
was.
in Ankeny.
Yeah. Yeah. Or all of our WWEs. Remember that?
It was back
We
when
just,
it was WWF.
Yeah, you're not on Twitter, Seth, but I mean, the people don't care about this. But yeah, we referenced.
Oh, you can't talk
Hilton
about WWE on here?
No, we can't. We referenced Hilton Coliseum going up to. Remember that back when we were like we couldn't. I know we couldn't drive.
No. Imagine if we had like cell phones like we have now back then. With like, I don't know, just in general. Like I think
Thank
about
God.
that all the time. Like it would be bad.
No, it was terrible.
Sweet. All right. Well, let's wrap this up for everybody. We can tell stories about charcoal grills and places in West Des Moines after this. So, Seth, we appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Yes.
Love you,
Thank
Seth.
you guys.
You're the man.
All right, you too, guys.
All right, Blake. Another good one in the books. I enjoyed that. Seth enjoyed it too, it seemed like, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah, he telling his story a little bit. He's got some cool initiatives he's doing and has done, and yeah, I think he enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it'll be fun to. So we got a lot of feedback from Bob Motorson after the Mark interview. So it'll be interesting to see. Basically Bob told us we could have dug deeper on Mark if we wanted to. Seth was a little more open with his answers, so I think we'll probably get a little more out of him when we.
I hope so. We'll find out. We'll find out what everybody thinks, and obviously the biggest question at Christmas in 2020 is going to be who's got the most downloads and the most listens between those two.
Mark's got a little head start, so we'll see. All right. Well, anyway, thanks to both Motorsons for their participation. It's fun. If you've got any good ideas for legends that we should interview, let us know. The last request we got, we've been trying to fulfill it, and we're getting Dikembe'd.
We are. It'll be interesting from this person to see if they will actually come on, because
The interesting part is this person, we won't even give away male or female, this person is concerned that they might say something that might offend some people, which means this person might have some offensive things to say, which I think that was where we might have it just makes me a little curious is all.
I know.
I don't think we really ever ask any like real hard-hitting questions, do we?
I don't think so either.
I think
But
we're pretty nice.
clearly some people do.
Well,
Switzerland, as this person has called themselves, we hope to get this person on.
Yeah, get a little Swiss cheese in here. Anyway, if you've got any other good recommendations, we've got a couple people that we're chasing right now, but love to hear from our audience. Slide into our DMs on Twitter at @kick_forward, on Facebook at kickitforwardIA, Instagram kick.it.forward. I don't even know if does TikTok exist in the United States still? I don't know. We started to have this conversation last time, and the studio audience got a little ruckus.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I've obviously subscribe and rate to our podcast.
If you're on TikTok,
TikTok.
check it out. YouTube, what else?
That's right.
I don't know. Check us out, though.
Yeah, rate us and subscribe, though, on your favorite podcast platform.
Right on. See you guys next week.